From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Fresh USDA reports rock the market. We have complete coverage.
The markets didn't really need any bearish news, but we got it.
Plus, what's the long view on corn?
If the yields were down to 174, 172, it would really spark an intense short covering rally. It'd be the first time in years end users had to pay up in corn.
Machinery Pete has prices on 8300s. And would you take a scoop of this condiment-flavored ice cream?
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. We'll see how the market continues to react this morning to last Friday's USDA grain reports. The Ag Department sees record-sized potential coming from both the soybean and corn crops. First, soybeans. USDA is expecting a record-high soybean crop this year, with farmers harvesting nearly 4.6 billion bushels. When harvested soybean acreage is down, yields are up, way up, averaging 51.6 bushels to the acre. That's 2.5 bushels more than last year. USDA is also seeing a record in the nation's corn yield, 178.4 bushels an acre, up 1.8 bushels from last year and 4 bushels higher than just last month. If realized, this will be the highest yield on record for the United States. While harvested acreage is down 1% from last year, the big yield will put corn production at 14.6 billion bushels.
But for USDA to blow it out of the water, it certainly suggests that we've got a darn good corn crop out there. It was driven by population. That maybe is the number one thing to think about as we consider why or how we are working with a record corn yield. On soybeans, really? Wow, that is a huge jump from a year ago for the soybean yield. It's not a record. It's still 0.4 of a bushel below the record set in 2016. But it's still a really big number for the soybean yield as of August 1. Still have a lot to determine on what that bean crop is going to finish up. I'm AgriTalk host Chip Flory.
Now, if the crop comes through, USDA expects record soybean yields in 8 states. The sea of blue across the upper Midwest and eastern Corn Belt reflect USDA's optimism. Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Pennsylvania with potential record soy crops. NASS is also forecasting record-high corn yields, again in blue in Alabama, Illinois, Nebraska, Ohio, South Dakota, and Tennessee. Illinois tops the Midwest with 207 bushels to the acre. Missouri, which as we showed you last week is suffering with drought, the state's corn yield average dropped 39 bushels to the acre, coming in at 131. Pro Farmer editor Brian Grady's also poured through the stacks of reports and shares his insights on these August numbers.
We now turn the tables from a technical perspective, and bulls, which had gained a little bit of momentum on recoveries from the July lows, are back on their heels here as we wait to see if the crops get bigger. Now, there's just based on what the historical numbers tell us over the past 20 years, there's about a 2/3 chance that the soybean crop will rise from USDA's initial estimate here in August. On the corn side of things, USDA looks for the 3rd biggest corn crop on record, the biggest yield on record. But there's only a 50-50 chance over the past 20 years that the yield will either increase or decrease from August. So it's basically a crapshoot on that one. For the editors of Pro Farmer in Cedar Falls, Iowa, I'm Brian Grady.
The Ag Department also adjusting the domestic grain supplies on Friday. New crop corn ending stocks were pushed higher from July, coming in at 1.7 billion bushels. Now from the soybean ledger, USDA pegs new crop ending stocks at 785 million bushels, much higher than last month's outlook of 580 million. Joe Vaclavic from Standard Grain has some thoughts on the corn and soy supplies.
Now, when we start to look at the balance sheets here, the soybean numbers are especially troubling. The 18-19 U.S. carryout pegged at a whopping 785 million bushels. I believe that would be the largest on record if realized. We've got the stocks-to-use ratio now at 18.5%, according to today's new crop projections, which is the highest that we've seen in recent memory. So some really negative numbers on the soybean side here, both globally and domestically. Now, the corn picture not as bad. The U.S. corn carryout for 18-19 pegged at 1.684 million. That would be up just a little bit from last month's projection. Similar deal on the global side, just a couple million metric tons higher from last month's projection.
All wheat production is forecast at nearly 1.9 billion bushels. That's 8% higher than a year ago. And by variety, winter wheat production declined 6%. Durum wheat is up 34%. NASS is also projecting a smaller cotton crop this season. It comes in at 19.2 million bales, 8% below last year. Average yield 911 pounds per acre. That's up 6 pounds. Despite U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods shipped into this country, the trade gap between the two countries continues to widen. That gap, part of the reason President Trump has imposed tariffs on Chinese-made products. Now, according to Bloomberg News, China's trade surplus widened by 11% from a year ago, up $28 billion in July. Bloomberg analysts say merchants rushed to fill orders before the 25% tariff were enacted. Now, on Friday, the Vice Minister of Agriculture and Rural Affairs in China telling a local news outlet that the tariffs on U.S. ag goods won't affect China much. He says the country can buy from other places, adding that, quote, once other countries have become reliable suppliers of ag goods for China, it will be very difficult for U.S. producers to regain the Chinese market. It appears farmers may lose a widely used pesticide from the toolbox. A federal appeals court in San Francisco ordering the EPA to stop sales of chlorpyrifos. The court gave the federal agency 60 days to implement the ban. A federal appellate court saying the Trump administration endangered public health by keeping chlorpyrifos on the market. Former EPA boss Scott Pruitt reversed the ban implemented under President Obama. Environmentalists then sued Pruitt and the EPA. Now, a spokesman says the acting EPA administrator Andrew Wheeler is reviewing the decision. EPA could potentially appeal to the Supreme Court. Now, the makers of chlorpyrifos, Corteva Agriscience, formerly Dow, say, quote, regulatory bodies in 79 countries have looked at the science, carefully evaluated the product and its significant benefits, and continue to approve its use. We note that this was a split decision of the panel, and we agree with the dissenting judge's opinion. We expect that all appellate options to challenge the majority's decision will be considered. Let's turn over to weather. Based on USDA's latest numbers, crops look pretty good. Mike Hoffman has more in today's crop comments.
Good morning, Clinton. A farmer in Richland County, North Dakota, posted to AgWeb that crops there depend on who got the rain. Some places saw too much, others needed more. Wheat and beans look average. Corn looks great. The latest USDA report says corn in North Dakota is up 9 bushels to 148 bushels per acre on average. And take a look at this wheat harvest on the Palouse. Jasmine Baird posted this video to Twitter from West Valley, Washington. According to last week's crop progress report, winter wheat harvest is past the halfway point. Spring wheat is about a fifth cut. And taking a look at the drought monitor, what we're seeing is still those spotty, extreme to exceptional drought areas from northern Missouri all the way down into Texas. Some areas have gotten relief, but the Southwest definitely not. We have some dry areas through some of the northern states as well. We'll check out your forecast coming up, but first here are some hometown temps.
Plan for the unexpected with weather forecast updates. Local forecasts are delivered right to your cell phone each morning, making planning a little bit easier. Just text Weather 6 to 31313 to get started.
We'll continue our market conversation with Tommy Grisafi next in Agribusiness, and later, Machinery Pete.
Stay tuned, folks. Coming up, I've got an auction sale price map you're not going to believe.
Plus, there's nothing better than rich, cold ice cream in the summer, but would you enjoy this condiment-laced flavor? We'll explain on In the Country. The agribusiness markets reacted strongly to USDA's reports Friday. Let's get the play-by-play from our friends on the floor in Chicago.
The USDA report came out and soybeans just absolutely collapsed. It just seems that the estimate was just way far away from what the actual numbers were. With the world ending stocks at 105.9 from 99 estimate. That's a huge divergence. We normally don't see that. Even the U.S. stocks were expecting, much lower numbers as well. Kind of a very big surprise. And normally, when we get something like this, we know that we're going to get a big move. And futures really tumbled over 40 cents. Corn did the exact same thing as well. It was really tough. That bearish USDA report just sent it down about 7 or 8 cents, which is a pretty big move for corn over the last couple of sessions because we've been trading in a tight range already. That's all from the floor at the CME Group. Here in Chicago, I'm Virginia McGathy.
New numbers and new carryout expectations for corn and markets on edge, but what's the story going forward? Tyne Morgan asked a question from the road in today's analysis.
Here now with Tommy Grasafi of Advanced Trading. Tommy, we see a lot of areas that are showing a really good corn crop, but we're seeing a lot of areas also that are showing a corn crop that's struggling this year from either too much moisture, not enough moisture. Do you think this story prevails in the corn market this year?
I do. I think it's different than last year. I'm not a big fan of the weather guy, but the weather guys promoted the hot nights and all that other stuff. It's not a perfect year, and you know what, Tyne, we don't have as many acres as we typically have, so we're dealing with way less corn acres, and things needed to be perfect, and they were perfect for a while, but there's starting to be just enough problems that it's a big difference if we produce 180 bushel corn or 176. 176, a beautiful crop.
Right.
But you take 176 times those acres, add it into our carryout, and you get into bull market territory.
Do you think that the trade is starting to realize that there are some issues in corn and that we could have some tight supplies?
I think the person who's a little shocked is the end buyer. The end user's for the last, I did a little research before I came here today. It's been 1,580 days since front month corn futures were $5. And so they're just used to buying corn when they need it. All the corns out in the carryout, out in the deferred, have a 4 in front of them. Yeah, a little shorter crop this year and a weather problem in South America and a problem with us next year. We could be at $5 corn again. It's a big could. We'd have to have wheat continuing to go up, other people in the world to have problems, but maybe this is the year. Kind of like being a Cubs fan, you're always thinking it's going to happen again. But every 108 years it does. And in this case, it's been a long time since corn's had a 5 in front of it.
But how soon could that happen? I mean, do we have to wait until South America has an issue? Is this, we wouldn't see that price until winter?
Yeah, it would, if the yields were down to 174, 172, it would really spark an intense short covering rally. It'd be the first time in years end users had to pay up in corn. And the whole rest of the world's looking for a story other than investing in Apple and Netflix and all these other things. So the stock market's the hot deal right now. You get crude oil back up. You know, stranger things have happened.
All right, Tommy Grasafi, thank you so much for joining us. Let's take a quick break here on AgDay, and then we have much more when we continue.
Interested in spending a day with a trader? Call Tommy Grasafi at 800-664-4383.
Welcome back to AgDay. Your meteorologist Mike Hoffman looking at rainfall over the past week. And Mike, you know, pretty much the eastern half of the country, pretty well covered, spotty, but pretty well covered.
Right, there's been a lot of rain over the last 7 days. This goes from a week ago Saturday through this past Friday. And you can see estimates, some of the higher amounts are in Arkansas, southern Arkansas. Some of that area has actually received 3, 4, 5 inches of rain, even up into the Little Rock area, as you can see. Then you get a little farther north where central portions of Missouri could really use the rain, didn't get much. Parts of southern Iowa didn't get much. Some of the northern portions of Missouri that are in a severe drought got a ½ inch to an inch, which wasn't bad, or 1 to 2 inches actually in some places. And then you can see that strip just north of the I-80 corridor across Iowa getting several inches of rain, 4, 5, 6 inches, and that extended eastward into the I-80 corridor of the southern Great Lakes as well. Now the jet stream, these are two really cut off low pressure systems. This one's going to be a decent weather maker as it comes northeast, as we'll show you. We still have this cutoff in the eastern Great Lakes and the mid-Atlantic states as well. Those will both kind of fold into the jet stream as it comes a little farther south by the middle of this week, so a little bit cooler air trying to come into the far northern plains. Then we see the trough digging through the Great Lakes into the northeast at the end of the week. Ridge builds back up out west and more energy feeding into that trough as we head into this coming weekend and the following week. And that will bring some cooler air once again to the Great Lakes and the northeast. That's the basic pattern. Now we keep seeing some warm intrusions into this trough, but then we settle it back down again. And that's been the pattern over the past 3 or 4 weeks at this point, once we finally did kind of flip-flop things. All right, temperatures this week. We're going above normal, Pennsylvania, New York, New England, Also Maryland, below normal then from the central Mississippi Valley all the way back through the south central plains into northern Mexico. Above normal for most of the northern Rockies and the west coast. Below normal precipitation in that same area. And above normal from the southwest right on into the central and eastern Ohio Valley. Eastern Corn Belt, I should say, into parts of the northeast. Below normal also for Florida. 30-day outlook for temperatures above normal in the northeast, eastern lakes, also Montana and the west. Below normal from Kansas southward. As far as precipitation is concerned, I'm going above normal in a pretty large area, Great Lakes to the Gulf Coast, back through the southwest. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. For Tucson, Arizona today, partly sunny, maybe an afternoon thunderstorm around, high of 98 degrees. Ironwood, Michigan, mostly sunny, quite warm, high of 86. And finally, Aiken, South Carolina, a mix of sun and clouds, maybe an afternoon storm, high of 90.
When we come back, Machinery Pete checks pricing and regional trends for a tractor favorite. And later, if you enjoy different flavors of ice cream, you won't want to miss this latest creamy creation. Or maybe you do. Details on In the Country. It's always interesting to see how different regions impact machinery prices. Well, today, Machinery Pete takes a closer look at recent auction trends for a John Deere 8300.
Really interesting over the last 3 decades to track how geography can affect used values. Now, last Thursday, I was out in northeast Indiana. We were filming an auction for our Machinery Pete TV show, and it had this super clean 1995 John Deere 8300 tractor, 5,131 hours, again, super sharp. Now, so far this year, the average auction price on a John Deere 8300 tractor is coming in at $41,774. But the one last Thursday in northeast Indiana, well, that brought $68,500, so a premium price for that nice condition. Now, here's something really interesting to look at, folks. This is an auction price map, but it only shows the last 2 years John Deere 8300s sold $68,000 and up. So if you look here, there's 2 main hotspots. One where I was last Thursday, northeast Indiana, northwest Ohio. The other out west, kind of east central Nebraska into Iowa. Now, the last 2 years, the highest one, John Deere 8300 I've seen sold, actually came from east central Nebraska. Here's a picture of it. A 1998 model, 3,500 hours, sold November of 16 for $85,000. Now, one other interesting thing, if we head back east to the hot spot out in northwest Ohio, one auction company, Sifka Real Estate and Auction, has sold 3 John Deere 8300s the last 9 months between $70,500 and $79,000. Now, of course, takeaway here, if you're selling a premium condition piece of used equipment, you need to know where these hot spots are, where the dollars are flowing, and get your listing in front of those eyes.
Up next, the condiment favorite gets a cool new creation.
In the Country, brought to you by Kubota's M7060, built to get the job done. See KubotaUSA.com or your local Kubota dealer for more information.
Mayonnaise. It's all right in certain recipes. My wife uses it on occasion. Many of us use it as a sandwich spread, but I'm not sure what I think about mayonnaise in my ice cream. Inside this ice cream shop in Falkirk, Scotland, Kyle Gentleman likes to experiment with unique ice cream flavors.
Why not go with that, something that Scottish people love? So we went with mayonnaise.
Yep, mayonnaise. Apparently, he's not content with chocolate, vanilla, or 31 flavors.
The idea in artisan ice cream was to make unique, artistic flavors that you don't usually see, rather than just the usual ones. I think I've kind of achieved that.
Long before the mayonnaise is added to the cream, a mixture is first prepared and then pasteurized. This takes up to an hour. After that, mayonnaise is measured, added, and blended together with the cream and sugar.
So the response has been kind of crazy, and even though it was a bit of a Scottish idea and a kind of crazy Scottish idea to put mayonnaise in ice cream, it's actually the rest of the world that have enjoyed it, more so than Scots.
Like American tourist Victoria Gibbons from Chicago.
It was actually really good, really creamy. It still tasted like ice cream. It wasn't like, you know, the spread you put on a sandwich, but it was really good. I'm glad we tried it. It was a good surprise.
But mayonnaise in your ice cream, one local resident isn't so sure.
Oh, it's rotten. Sorry.
Do you not like it?
No! Well, it does just taste like mayo, so in your head, cold ice cream mayo isn't for me.
The creative creams don't stop at Mayo. Kyle's all about artistic, unique flavors like Strongbow cider and Green Monster energy drinks. Nothing is too crazy for Kyle.
Everyone's asking that we should do a full range. We should do brown sauce, we should do ketchup, we should do a Frank's hot sauce. So there's lots of ideas out there that we could do, yeah.
Flavors for all. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Spent part of your week with us. From Mike Hoffman and all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.